Hello and welcome to another Tuesday at 2. I am Marcy Stoudt, and along with my sister, Alison Nissen, we're the founders of Revel Coach, which is a coaching platform that inspires our clients to live their dreams. Today, we are going to talk about our 4-step proven plan to find balance between passion and profits. And over the last 3 years, we have certainly had our own experience and journey as entrepreneurs. And I'd love to start this conversation with asking my sister, Alison. The first step in our 4 steps is having a vivid vision. And can you share with me where you were, say, 3-4 years ago, starting the entrepreneurial journey, and what crafting a vision looks like to you?
Well, I can tell you about 3 years ago, I had no vision for where I was going to be taking my entrepreneurial spirit. I was doing ghostwriting, I was doing editing, and I was doing coaching for writers. I loved every step of it, but I didn't have a plan. I had zero plan. I would pick up the phone and I would talk to you because you were my Sherpa. You were my guiding light. You were the one who had worked corporate America, which is the place I hadn't actually spent much time. So I was super excited to be able to chat with you and learn from the lessons that you had. But where were you 3 years ago?
Well, the caveat with that, which is funny because although I worked corporate America, I was staying home, for a couple of years with the kids. And to do an entrepreneurial journey, it's like it zeroes out all your experience because it's so new and there's so many choices. So for me, I knew who I wanted to serve. So my core passion in starting any sort of coaching platform was going to be on this small niche demographic, which was that 30-year-old, that woman who is navigating maternity leave. So she's got a vision of success in her career in corporate America, but she also has vision of success with her family and not losing herself in the rat race that we can get ourselves caught up in as working moms. So I wanted to start there. How to start up as an entrepreneur. I clearly had a very high learning curve, everything from technology, where to get started. And that fear of, when do you start charging for your services? And that was kind of a confusing point for us. So the one thing, when it comes to creating a vivid vision, the quickest thing we learned is that your vision has to have a lot of textures to it. So for us, when we work with a lot of our clients, we find that, it's pretty easy to say something. By the time you do all the work to figure out what your vision is, it comes out in some sort of mission statement or a few sentences that embodies who you are. And it could be something like, I want to be an engaged mother that's excited and inspiring while working and solving these problems for my clients. But after a while, that feels a little sloganish. So what you really need to do when it comes to your vivid vision is start layering textures to it and start to understand what does that person feel like? How does she act every day? So if you start going to a forward thinking of what success looks like for her, say 5 years, 10 years down the road, you'll start saying, well, what does she do to get there? What habits did it take to get there? So Alison, for the two of us, when we were both kind of meandering in our beginning of our entrepreneurial journey, and we started to say, okay, we got to get really clear of what we're doing. And how we started this platform, just celebrating other women in business. Can you share a little bit more about how Tuesday at 2 actually began the path for us for getting started and figuring this out?
Yes. Tuesday at 2 was our way of educating ourselves. We like to do it ourselves as much as we can. And we love to have people that guide us along the way. And Tuesday at 2 started off with, hey, let's call this person because they have an expertise in a certain area. And then we started calling somebody else. We decided to share our journey with other people. And we created Tuesday at 2 because we like the alliteration of it, not because 2:00 is perfect for everybody on Tuesdays, because it's not. And we're actually, now we're in different time zones, so it's not even the same 2:00. But we really started expanding our network by inviting people to join us at Tuesday at 2. And that was how Tuesday at 2 became our platform for growing, networking, and learning, and sharing what we know with other people.
And what was fun about it is we're always interviewing somebody we admired. And then we're asking them genuine questions on how did you get started? What do you do? And how do you do this? And the number one thing we heard from every entrepreneur is just be consistent. stay in your lane, figure out what you love, and just be consistent. So for us, when we talk with entrepreneurs about going from passion to profit, which, everybody has their own path of getting there. What we found for us is when people would start saying, well, how are you going to monetize Tuesday at 2? Or how are you going to, make money from this and all this? What was wonderful about being in business with you, Alison, as my sister, is that those rules didn't apply to us. Like, we didn't care too much about the volume of followings. We didn't care about the likes. We didn't care about anything other than the fact that, pretty much 3 things. Were we growing? Like, were we learning from the people that were speaking with us? Did we feel that like like we just had fun with it? Like, was it easy for us to do? So if we dreaded, the second we would dread Tuesday at 2, which we haven't yet after 3.5 years, but when we do, like, that says it served our time and maybe we don't need to do it. But if we felt happier and better at 2:30 on Tuesdays, then we knew it was working. We learned something new. We were having fun. And then the other thing is, it really just helped us kind of cast a marketing presence for us, because as entrepreneurs, people get really tired of just hearing your advice, your one thing, and hear about you and let buy from me. So for us, celebrating other women was so natural in both our businesses, even though we both do different things for our occupation, for our profits. It's helped us to stay, active, for me in LinkedIn, for you, Facebook, Instagram, and that kind of helped us build a little bit more of a community. So going into our second step, and this is one for me because everybody has their own personality profiles, and I'm definitely like a doer, like my dad. So the second step, after you have a vivid vision, and the vision is something that it inspires you, it makes sense to you, and you don't have a lot of resistance to it, in the sense that like you're not saying, well, that's great for her, but for me, my situation's different. If you're in the situation where you're not really buying your vision and it's not inspiring, then you need to kind of stay on that path for a little bit longer and just do the work there. But the second stage is this aligned action. And for us, when we say aligned action, these are things in our language, in our world. Tuesday at 2 is aligned. We feel great about it. It's a part of us growing and learning. A lot of great free advice. We got to be honest, even if it's about organizing or anything like that. A lot of times our questions, we'll get compliments about our interviews, and it's just really because we genuinely want to learn from that person. It's not staged. But the aligned action is a fun piece, because that really is, if you're clear about who you want to serve, why you want to serve them, and everything you want to do, then you just think of what actions are going to support that brand as best to your ability. So Alison, with you, tell us a little bit more about your current vision, like where you want to be and who you want to serve with the public presence, and then share a little bit more about your aligned action.
So as we started with Tuesday at 2 and Revel Coach, I really was able to focus what my vision would be. And as much as I love coaching and helping people write, what I really want to do is help them be successful in whatever venue that they choose to. And I had a passion for blogging. I have a passion for podcasting, and I have a passion for public speaking. And I was able to really create a program that's designed to help people amplify their public presence through social media. And many people are afraid of social media. They're afraid to put themselves out there. And so I was able to take, I don't know if you saw that, Marcy waved her hand. So anyway, I was able to start really aligning my own action about what I would do. And one of those was to set my goals on achieving a distinguished Toastmaster, which, if you're in the Toastmasters world, it's not very common that you find people that actually have a Toastmasters degree. So I was super proud of myself. I actually achieved it just this past year. Yay me. But it was a lot of work, and it was a lot more work than I thought it would be. And I really grew from it. So that was one of the things I did, was align my action. I set myself goals that were achievable, that I could actually use as stair steps to take myself to my own next level. But it's also something I can learn to use with my clients, which is, again, a win-win. So aligning action paired with my vision, it really did help me. But, you know, a lot of that comes with some stress, and stress often clouds success because it hinders what we see in ourselves. And so when we can align our actions, we can narrow down to the core points that we need to focus on to help eliminate that stress. But I mean, Marcy, what are some of the stress points that you've noticed along the way that have been a stumbling block?
I thought we only had 30 minutes. I'll say, you know, one thing that I find is really common. You know, a lot of times if somebody's from a corporate America, they want to take the leap and they want to be an entrepreneur. A stress point is you want to replace your income. And depending on your financial situation and financial burden, you want to do that as fast as possible. So when you start out on the entrepreneurial, you're really, I mean, it's so fun. You talk to any entrepreneur and it's always worth it. It's so fun because you're finally doing what you want with no red tape. You can do whatever you want to do until you're doing so many things and you're not replacing your income yet. So for many of us, that finance part of it can cause the most clouded judgment and least aligned action. So when we see that happening, you tend up to sign up for all these podcasts, or you're signing up for all these like free events and another workshop. And a lot of times, especially for the women that I work with, we're signing up for another, another email list or another blog post or something like that. And what you're doing is you're clouding your stress is making you say, I don't know, everyone else knows. And you're comparing yourself to everyone else. So instead of actually sitting down and saying, what feels the best for my clients, the service that I can provide, the solutions I want to do, and then how do I genuinely connect with her, in my opinion, my client's base, it's with her, but how do I connect and serve her? So for me, whenever I get in a point of stress, so say you're just super busy, Alison has passions around public speaking. I do not. Alison likes blogging. I don't. So this is why we're very complementary together in our, a lot of the work we do together, because we can help each other in that area. But if I find myself, really stressed on those things, all that I say to me is be a great coach today. And if I can just work with one person today, and it doesn't matter, it could even be one of my kids. They don't know I'm piloting one of my little exercises with them as I get out and play the music and do the journal thing. But if I can be a great coach, just one person a day, I then am aligned. Like I know what I'm doing. And there's there's many techniques to do it, but really there's a lot of work people need to do on their to-do list. We've heard a lot of things like what's on your to-don't list. And if you look at what you're doing, you can kind of like see what's on your list and say, circle the things that are must do, circle the things that are really none of your business. There's things that sometimes, especially mom, we worry and we think and we do all this stuff that's, it's actually not building closer towards a vision. So the last thing, I almost want to poll our audience here because there's some people that I know love this conversation, but we'll do that after we go, after the 2:30 part. But a lot of times when we're doing the aligned
for people,
yeah, I'm going to poll some of the people in the audience here. A lot of our work with the aligned action, we call it journey goals. So it's very, very easy for people to say, what are some of your short-term and long-term goals? And we can break them down and all that, but they tend to be very extrinsic, like a title, an income level, number of followers, like event-based. And what really drives most people, especially most entrepreneurs, are really the journey goals. So that to me is the second thing I like doing when it comes to like, if I get in the sea of stress, go away from my actual goals and see what the journey goals are, because I really subscribe to the belief that often if you feel the success and you feel where it's headed, you'll make the right choices easily. If you feel I'm not there yet, that person's there, that comparison, that negative, comparison is the thief of joy. If you're playing that game, then you accidentally are putting yourself further away. So, the simplest way is like writing down the things like, what do I want to experience along the way? So Alison, can you tell me like some of your journey goals that, you think of when you think of like helping clients, amplifying their public, getting them over stage fright, or doing a webinar for them when, but some of the journey goals you have before you actually, building your full business.
Well, I love the idea of journey goals because, as you say, they're not event based. It's not, I have achieved X. I heard a great speech one time and somebody was talking about you have 15 minutes of fame. So you achieve that, you achieve whatever X is. Well, then there's that 16th minute. What happens next? So did you work really hard to achieve something? And now what do you do with it? I achieved my DTM, but I am now setting new goals of things I wanted to do. And actually, before I even got that far, 2 years ago, this is after we started Revel Coach, but about 2 years ago, in January 1st, I set a goal. 5 years, I wanted to be making a certain amount of dollars as a public speaker. And so now my goal is to continue working on that. That is an event-based goal. So the trick is going to be creating it where it's longer. But as you mentioned, our platform, which is the Vivid Vision, Align Action, and creating a growth mindset. When you have that growth mindset, you're not limited to that particular event. And that's where the journey comes in with that growth mindset. Because if my journey is, I want to help individuals create their own success, that is bigger than just an event, because there's always somebody else that needs it. And as a professor, I find students all the time where, they have life happening to them and they're in a bind for whatever reason. I mean, it could be a really big bind that, their spouse is in the hospital with COVID. That's a big bind. And then there's other people who had a car accident, and that might feel like a small bind, but to them, it's a big bind. And so being able to work with that growth mindset of I'm helping each person along the way, and I am learning to grow and not confine myself to specific events, but rather to continue that journey with growing and, helping to share. If you can achieve it, if you believe it. And people forget that. You grow from failure. The first attempt in learning, right? Failure, fail. First attempt at learning. You know what? We are always impressed by people that can pick themselves up and keep on moving forward. Steve Jobs started Apple, got fired, came back and made it even better. So if we want to look at one of the ultimate success stories, he had a little bit of a fail in there, but he picked himself up and he kept going. And so keeping that growth mindset of, if you can believe it, you can achieve it, really does help you align your action with your goals.
Yeah.
But
and I want to add, like you're talking about the failure part of it, which is such like a good introduction to the third pillar of growth mindset. They always say, if you have this growth mindset, you're confident enough to fail big. So when you play small, you're going to fail small. Nobody really notices, but if you actually put yourself out there and you fail big, but you have a growth mindset, like, okay, what do I learn from this? It changes your whole dynamic. And, we didn't talk too much, we say within aligned action, often that's kind of finding your tribe. So for us, this Tuesday at 2 community, we've got a lot of past speakers on with us right now, but our tribe is like, every time somebody's joined us on one of these conversations, I feel like I get to know who they are, what drives them, how they do what they do, that really I can go through, our Instagram or our website and like see all of our past speakers. And if I know somebody that needs advice, I definitely feel like I can call one of our past speakers. And that tribe gives me so much confidence. And then I look at all the things that they've done and I know failures, like we asked some questions about failures. So having that confidence as an entrepreneur to fail big, a lot of it has to do with your community. And I will say, there's a lot of, we haven't really talked ever, and we won't do it now, but about all the entrepreneurial do's and don'ts that people tell you, don't do this, don't do that, don't do that. And Alison, because you and I are sisters, we don't really listen to the majority of them. So like one of which is like, never do business with family. And so Alison and I, as sisters, there's so many different dynamics, but I feel like it's strength. I mean, we both have our own practices and we have different like brands, which gets a little confusing, for others, but it works for us. But the reason why it works is I'm not really afraid of failing. She's seen a lot worse than what she's seen when I'm on camera. So that's one thing that's been really fun for us to have, like your tribe, and then being confident with the growth mindset of learning something. So in the theme of turning passion to profit, a very confusing first step for entrepreneurs is, do I outsource it or do I do it? Because for sure, many of us aren't good in all things social media, website, sales, serving your clients, customer experience. Did I say website about 3 times? Website, just kidding. But there's so many things you're doing. And I know from the corporate America, you have a person to call, you have IT, if something happens. And so as an entrepreneur, that gets a little confusing. And so our style, what we chose to do is, first of all, was just kind of a fun challenge. We chose the growth mindset, like, let's figure out if we can do it. Like, let's never say, I don't know how to start a blog. I don't know how to start a website. So we kind of did it all by our own. And then once we got a little bit more seasoned in what we did, we started to know when we could hire a marketing team, when we could pay for somebody else to do that. But we chose that path. Really, I think both of us didn't like the idea of not knowing how to do something. So I think that gave us confidence. But for me, I also wasn't sure what I needed. So I didn't want to hire somebody to do our website and then go away for 2 months. They come back and I've already changed my mind like 5 times. So I think we want to do it, from that standpoint. So Alison, within the 4th step, it's my favorite. And these steps aren't stackable. I think, I don't know if we said this already, but they're always all encompassing with all things that you're doing. We try to use them in our coaching practice with the first week of the month. We focus on vivid vision because we know your vision flows with every experience you have. And then the second one, in the week, we always focus on aligned action. The third is growth mindset. And the 4th is our favorite, and that's just prioritizing joy. So making sure we don't lose sight of our why. And we don't take ourselves so seriously that you actually aren't, you don't open yourself up enough to listen to your clients, to listen to the needs, and you just, don't cloud yourself with so much stress. So I'm going to pass to you, Alison. Tell me a little bit about prioritizing joy and your experience, either as an entrepreneur or anything, as it relates to how you go about making sure joy's in your kind of daily experience.
That's an excellent question. And I'm going to take it back to the title of this particular program, which is Passion to Profit. There's this problem that entrepreneurs have about money, how much to charge. Is success and profit the same thing? When you start to have a problem that is bigger, that the burden is too large, it's because the problem is too big, and that's the time to stop and break it down. So if you're stressed about how much to charge, for example, like, oh no, I don't know how to charge, specifically if it's a coaching program where it's an ambiguous product. It's not, it's not, I'm not selling tables and chairs. I'm actually selling a service. And then how much do you charge? So if that becomes too big of a burden, which is what had happened to me, I became too stressed about the idea of, oh no, how much is this going to cost? How much do I charge? What if they think I'm a fraud? When that problem became too big, I reevaluated it and I thought, you know what, I'm not ready for that step quite yet. And so I downsized my thoughts. That reprioritized the joy that I had in helping people. Mm-hmm. So if the stress is too big, then it's time to break it down into smaller bits. One of the things I like to do is think about baby steps. And if we're really taking too big of a step, yeah, we could fail big, which is good. That's what we're taking a chance. But if it's too stressful, we might end up walking away from that fail and not picking ourselves up and trying again. So rather than saying, okay, I'm going to repeat myself, break it down into something smaller. So something that was very stressful for me, which was, how much do I charge? What is considered profit? What is considered success? It's when I looked at success versus profit that I started to align my action and my goals. And I was really able to embrace then that growth, that, okay, smaller steps, let's do smaller programs. And I was much more successful. I was happier. My husband was happier. My kids were probably happier. So, that's where your priority is. And that's where you really need to reassess what is on your plate.
What's interesting is
plate of joy.
Cup runneth over. But as you're talking, it does remind me of like kind of going back like a year and a half or so, when every entrepreneur has their own approach. So you can run programs if you have a very large following, like 10,000, 20,000 people, and you want your programs to be inexpensive and you want them more e-based. Alison and I both chose that we want personal interaction. Like for me, that we really wanted more of the referral based. So I remember about like a year and a half or 2 years ago, we went out to our alma mater for an event. And we were having a lot of fun. It was a workshop. We were doing a lot of work, but because we were having so much fun, and at that point we were confused about charging. We had choices on how we could charge. And that was kind of stressful because you feel like instantly you have to have like an elevator pitch in your price, but that's not really the way it works. You really need to have your passion figured out. We used to keep them up and then keep it, and then keep that on the forefront. And then things tend to work out for us. So when we were out there, we noticed a problem that at this entrepreneurial conference that we were at, that none of the current athletes were there. And the reason why is that they had away games, they didn't know about it. And there were reasons why they weren't participating in this great event. Like it was the CEO of Travelocity was there. We're all together. And I feel like when we were at that event, that was like a turning point for us because we were prioritizing joy. We were having a lot of fun. We noticed a problem. So we were quickly like, well, let's go talk to the athletic director. Like we didn't think twice about it. We didn't have a program dedicated for career planning for athletes. And we really weren't in the entry-level career planning business. But within moments, we had a great meeting with the athletic director. They flew us back out. And then we crafted this program. We weren't worried about price. We weren't worried about anything other than we knew we could help teach these athletes on how to network with each other, leverage each other's experiences. Don't worry about the thin resume because the experience they have on the field is so much more hireable than, kind of a BS internship. And so with that, the athletic director told us what she'd charge in her budget. And we had this great program that now coach a lot of the female athletic teams in that career coaching. But that's an example of when you're stressed, you can miss opportunities because I could have been like trudging my way with the pregnant executive and you could have been amplifying your present. But we were able to see a fun opportunity that I will say they were such a joy to work with because their growth mindset, seniors in college, freshmen in college, is like exponential and their questions are so authentic. And they really, I learned a lot through that program too.
Well, Marcy, this has been a really fun conversation. Vivid vision, align action, growth mindset, prioritize joy. These are what we're calling the pillars, the Revel Way. It's a way to keep yourself in touch with your entrepreneurial spirit and to be able to continually grow, because that's what it's really about, is that opportunities, finding the opportunities, growing with the opportunities, and sharing your experiences with others. I want to thank everyone for coming, and we are going to stay on a little bit afterwards. So if you want to unmute yourself, that's fine. But first, we're going to turn off our Facebook Live program. And we always invite people to join us with the live conversations because that's when we get the true interaction with people. So from Revel Coach, Marcy and Alison, see you next time. If you're online, feel free to stick around.